Every culture is different, which means every culture's rules are different, and that's not just the rules of the land, that extends to the education system. These are some Japanese school rules you won't believe actually exist. Club activities are very popular. In Japanese schools, there's a lot of extracurricular clubs available for students to join. These are voluntary, but many students, if not most, do participate in at least one of these non-compulsory clubs or activity groups. They're divided into two basic categories. There are sports and culture. In Japanese culture, it's important to be part of the society and to behave in ways that participate in the structure of things. It's a very conservative country with many deep-rooted traditions, and some of those are reflected in the clubs and hobbies. But as well as those more uniquely Japanese options, there are plenty of clubs that are exactly the same sorts of things that children in Western countries would be familiar with. There are lots of sports clubs, and these tend to vary in seriousness from the casual once or twice a week meeting for fun to the extremely serious and competitive level activities, which will involve almost daily training and a goal to take part in national competitions. The point of many of these extracurricular activities is to promote and encourage student independence, so especially amongst the older students, although there is a teacher assigned to supervise the clubs, independent development is promoted for all young people who participate. In many ways, school life for young people in Japan is really not so profoundly different than that from children in many other parts of the world. There are of course a few bigger cultural differences, in general between Japan and the United States. Before we go on, like this video, smash the subscribe button, and click the notification bell right now. Students are prohibited from dating and having relationships. Dating in the Japanese culture is very different than anywhere else in the world, in particular the United States. You know, many high school age young people in the USA will have romantic relationships and will often pair up and go out in couples, but in Japan, well, that's really rather different, despite the fact that stories of teen romance are a big part of Japanese entertainment media. The reality of teenage relationships is a lot less than conventional. If teenagers do date at all in Japanese culture, they're more than likely to hang around in groups. This group dating is known as gokon, and it's basically a way for young people to mix with potentially suitable love interests, with shared friends and ideas. But this is only really the case for students who are in schools which do not have prohibitions in place. That's right, one of the rules in some Japanese schools is that students are forbidden from dating each other. Romantic relationships are banned, even during the student's own time away from school. Why? Japanese school uniform for girls consists of a very short skirt. In Japan, it's traditional for school students to wear a uniform. This is likely to be something about which you're already aware. In Western culture, we're often under the impression that there is a specific short skirt and bobby sock style, which has been really creepily sexualized by some representations. Although there are certainly some uniforms which have a short skirt as one of the items. So uniforms are worn in many schools. In middle schools and secondary school, students often wear traditional uniforms. These tend to be the sailor suit kind, or the gakurin for boys, which is based on army uniforms. Then there are the more modern style, where the short skirts are more likely to be seen. But girls in some places will actually just as likely choose a long skirt as a fashion statement as well. The connection with very short skirts in Japanese school uniforms is mostly adopted from several different manga characters who wear uniforms, and the association of these characters with Japanese culture through stuff like Comic-Con and other cosplay events. Students can't fail a grade in Japanese schools. The Japanese school system is perhaps unsurprisingly different from some other parts of the world. There's less of an emphasis on the grades of a child on a report card and more on their behavior and attendance. In fairness, those two things will likely have a positive impact on the child's learning anyways, not to mention the fact that Japanese children are generally much more attentive and prepared to learn than their American or British counterparts. Children in Japan cannot fail a grade in school. All children will make progress through the academic grades, according to their age, and the grades they receive will not be taken into consideration until they take exams to enter into high school, and places the focus on the process itself, but more to demonstrate good behavior and to participate fully in school. The learning and grades that result are likely to be very good simply because the children are all encouraged to work hard for the sake of learning, rather than boxes ticked off on a report card. What do you think of these Japanese school rules, or any of them so surprising that you couldn't believe they exist? And what was the silliest rule at your school growing up? As always, tell me all about it in the comments down below. Be sure to check out the other cool stuff showing up on the screen, and I'll see you next time.